Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and if it's your first time, welcome. Today we are not doing a review per se, but we are going to do a overview. This is going to be part one of the series, all because I did a temp trade with a fellow Michigan flipper, Steve, aka Scuba Flips on Instagram. So for me, I traded my Cygnus V2, Kite Beta, and my custom rep for these three following balisongs. 1, the Max Ace Petrol. 2, the Frankenforge Voltaic. And last but not least, Machinewise Opus V2. So this will hopefully give you guys some more content to watch, so please give a big thanks to Steve, and if anyone lives in Michigan, let us know. Maybe we can do a meetup sometime with all the Michigan flippers. So Machinewise as a company is truly a absolute wonder, because from the first balisong to the most recent, it's a truly night and day difference. I've watched every video that Will Hirsch has put out on Machinewise, and it has been an absolutely wild thing to see. In their first introduction to their latest, walking through the process of making their balisongs and their other knives is an absolute doozy to watch, because you can see every ounce of effort and love going into their products. So let's get into the Opus. Here are the specs, and one thing I appreciate about Machinewise is how detailed their specifications are. They really leave no stone unturned when it comes to every little bit of their balisongs. So I won't read all of it, but I will give you the most important info. So for one, these chain winch handles are made of grade 5 titanium, and the blade itself is made out of S35 VN steel. It runs on bushings with, interestingly enough, polished stainless steel washers that are custom made along with the T15 hardware. And if you don't know anything about Machinewise, I highly suggest that you watch Will Hirsch's videos of them exploring the Machinewise facilities, because it really is a interesting watch and a lot to learn from these makers. And especially because Machinewise essentially wants to control every single part, and I mean literally every single part of the knife making process, including making their own hardware. So these pivots are custom made by Machinewise along with these polished stainless steel washers. And it's crazy because these T15 size screws, which by the way you don't see with any other manufacturer that I know of, they have a very interesting thread pattern and prevents it from backing out, so there's no need for any form of thread locker. And these T15 pivots are deep enough where they won't strip, and of course T15 is nearly impossible to strip in the first place. And for the washers, the reasoning for using stainless steel is, for one, they polish it to the point where it literally creates little to no friction at all, and it holds tunes better without disintegrating after the first and or second disassembly you might have to do on this. So now that we talked about specs, let's talk about how it flips. So the Opus currently has no weights installed as recommended by Steve, and all I gotta say is they were absolutely right to do so, because wow, does this thing just fan like nobody's business. But it still chaplains and rollovers incredibly well. I did not feel like I struggled with any of the tricks that I attempted with this, except maybe some tricks that required a quick change in momentum, like twirls and the kiss goodbye. This is mostly due to the incredibly long handles, and if you know anything about Machinewise, they love long handles, as seen in the Prisma, Marin, Slifty, Serif, and of course the Opus. And if you remember physics, with especially longer handles and more weight, it's all about the conservation of angular momentum. And as Steve's daily driver, I can absolutely understand why, because I personally think it's an incredibly fun flipper. It's incredibly responsive, so it will do essentially any trick that I want it to, of course to the best of my ability, and it's just so comfortable. I actually kind of appreciate the thin lines and the taper in the handles. It just fits better in my hand, even though I have decently big mitts. And if you look at the work done on this balisong, you can absolutely see the hours put into every milling mark and chamfer. Even on the blade, there is just milling along the face of the blade and the spine of the blade. It's just, again, very wild, because I just can't get over how gorgeous this balisong is. And the jibbing itself, also decent. Not the best, but it's certainly not the worst jimping I've ever seen. It's good jimping, especially on the Channel balisong, because I think the only one that I remember that I didn't like was the Tsunami, and that's also an incredibly expensive balisong. This jimping is adequate in length of the handle, width across the handle, and depth into the handle. And it does contribute to decent ladders. Overall, I personally think that this is a very, very, very good flipper, and I can absolutely see why people enjoy it so much. So now, after talking about how this thing flips, let's compare it to the other Machinewise balisongs that I have flipped previously. That is going to be the V1 Seraph and the Live Blade Tutori. And here is going to be my listing of these three balisongs, with number 3 being the V1 Seraph, 2 being the Live Blade Tutori, and of course, surprisingly to me even, number 1 being the Opus V2. And that's for a few reasons. So by far, this is the most comfortable balisong out of all of those that I've flipped. And I absolutely love and appreciate the work done on those ballys. For instance, the Tutori has its sand dune milling, and the Seraph has the chevron and cubic milling on the handles. But I personally think that the delicate texture on this just feels better, because titanium itself as a material for balisongs are already quite grippy. So personally, I don't think titanium needs aggressive textures to add any more grip than it really has. The V1 Seraph also, again, was very blocky, and I personally didn't enjoy that, especially during choker fans. And I do know for the V2s they remedied that a bit. But if you look even at the handles of the Opus, it's more octagonal due to the chamfers on the corners of the handles. The second reason why this is number 1 for me is because, in my opinion, it flips the best out of the other balisongs. The Tutori, however, did come close with the zippy spacers, and I also did kind of love how small it was. Just overall, the zero weight Opus flips incredibly well. It's almost kind of effortless to flip, which is a little weird, especially during fans. For me, this is the ultimate lazy fanning balisong, especially because of how well it carries, and with how gentle these handles are. It just is incredibly comfortable to do all day. I can fan this thing all day and just not be tired of it. And for the Seraph, I think it just had too much momentum and it wasn't as enjoyable for me. Not saying it's bad, it just wasn't for me. To be fair, I think in those I did have the medium weights. So let's real quick talk about pricing, because if you want this balisong, it's going to cost a very pretty penny. Around $650 for blems and around $750 for full price anode balisongs. And I will say, I don't think it's overpriced, because it is a very incredibly well made balisong that has every step closely monitored to make sure that what's going into it will create a perfect balisong for you, the consumer. Again, they control everything from the balisong to its hardware and its anodization to make sure that everything is to their level of standards. And that level of dedication is absolutely wild to me, but it's also incredibly admirable. In this hobby, I feel like we are so incredibly fortunate to have balisong creators care this much about us and to make the best products that they can at any price point. And we have so many options from budget to the high-end tier, which I think Machinewise fits perfectly in, because these guys, I think, makes some of the best, if not the best, Grail balisongs that I've tried and have seen. The amount of good things I've heard about the product speaks volumes about the dedication to their art, and how little hear about any issues should speak even louder. And again, $750, you might see, wow, it's incredibly pricey, but don't forget, look at every detail built onto this balisong. And then don't forget, it's also S35 VN steel for the blade, grade 5 titanium, and all custom in-house made hardware. And from what I heard, Machinewise is coming out with a tutorial again at Blade Show of this year, or the Sasori, I forgot which one. Either way, I'm incredibly excited to see more products from them at a lower price point, because honestly, any of their products with the amount of love they put into it is going to be an absolute benefit to any of us in the hobby. This right here, the Opus V2 by Machinewise, clearly one of the best Grails I've ever had the privilege to flip. And this is not just a balisong, but a work of art. And as my title says, this is a balisong worthy of the name Opus. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, thank you, Steve at Scuba Flips, for lending this to me. And we do have 2 more ballads to go, so please keep your eyes out for these videos. And for you guys out here, please take care of yourselves. Please take care of those that you love. Be a kind and wonderful person. And of course, have a wonderful day. Thank you.